Hi, so as we look at the circle of fifths, you can see that, let's look at the pattern here for the number of sharps and flats as we go through all 12 major scales, okay? Starting with the C on the saxophone, you know you have nothing, right? No flats, no sharps. But using the circle of fifths, going up 5 steps, you get to the G, and you get 1 sharp, which is the F sharp. Then you go to D, you get 2 sharps, starting with F, going to C. A, key of A major, you have F, C, and G. And then for E major, you got 4 sharps, okay? Same 3 plus 1 more, which is D sharp, okay? And then B, same 4 plus 1 more to make 5 sharps. That 5th sharp will be A sharp. And then F sharp major will have, my goodness, 6 sharps, and same 5 from before, and then you're adding, wow, an E sharp, okay? And then the very last one with, what is it, 7 sharps? Yes, C sharp major has the very last sharp, okay? The 7th sharp, in addition to the previous 6, would be B sharp, all right? And if it's easier for you to memorize it, going backwards, circle of fourths, you'll hit D flat major, which has only 5 flats to remember rather than 7 sharps, right, as we see here. So let's give it a try on the saxophone, just so you can kind of see by demonstration what this all sounds like and how it all gets put together. But please have a copy of something like this, Circle of Fifths, which covers all this information here. Always handy because it's worth looking at and seeing how the patterns go. So if you look even more carefully, you see that the order we just went through, with no sharps to 1 sharp to 2 sharps, there is a code on the circle which allows you to start to memorize. Well, what are they again? Okay, first one is F sharp, then the next one is C sharp, G sharp, D sharp, A sharp, E sharp, B sharp. So playing on the saxophone, looking at this chart, we can start to work through all 12 major keys relying on this chart as really dependable. Okay, so all you have to work on as the instrumentalist, the saxophone player, is to make sure that you're getting your tone correctly out through breathing into the saxophone, using your diaphragm, and all that stuff that you're working into, basically a practice routine, so that you're more in control of your phrasing, your breathing, your dynamics, everything put together, including your understanding, especially right now, of the major scales, all 12 of them. So the major formula for every major scale, easiest one on the saxophone is starting with a low C, is and in playing the major scale with no sharps or flats, you can most easily see the formula that applies to every major scale, which is starting with the original note, in this case C. You go 1 whole step to the next step, 2, then another whole step to the next step, which is 3, and then the 4th step would be a half step or chromatic step, and then the 5th step will be a whole step, 6th step will be a whole step, and then the 7th step is a whole step, and then getting to the octave would be a half step. All right, so that was your C scale in the numbering system, 1 through 7. So each of those numbers represents a step on a major scale, okay? And from those steps, and knowing how far apart they are, whether it's a half step, which is a chromatic step, or a whole step, which is really two half steps. Okay, easy to see on the piano, of course, harder on the saxophone, but understanding it up here is equally important for every instrumentalist, I believe, and from what I've experienced and seen. So critical stuff I'm really trying to encourage you to really stamp into your head, so that knowing these scales back and forth, up and down, and in different ways will help you connect the dots when you're improvising. Just knowing the relationships between the notes. You're not necessarily using scales or the chords the way you're practicing them or understanding them. Oh, I'm sorry, take back the understanding part, but practicing them is one thing, but playing them, it comes up spontaneous. I can't pronounce it, but you know what I mean, right? And it comes out just on the fly. And that's how I believe. Well, that's how I approach improvising as well. In addition to some other things, like the way I like to express myself, will have certain things more emphasized, like maybe melodics. But getting back to playing this, we start from the C, knowing this formula. Okay, played the C scale 2 octaves up and down, and then I went up to the 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we're gonna take that 5 and make it the new 1, because that 5 is a G. And you could see on the circle of fifths that, from C to G, we have one F sharp. So we're going to make sure we play that when we do the G major scale. So. So I only played 1 octave because I didn't feel like going to the high G with an altissimo. I just want to demonstrate just the mechanical keys that you can reach without doing altissimo. So I only did 1 octave, and then using our circle of fifth. And we know D has 2 sharps, which is F sharp and C sharp. So that was D major, and then what's the next one on the circle of fifths? D up to 5 steps would be to A. Okay, and we'll play the A major scale. And then we do the same thing. A, counting up 5 steps, goes to E. So the 5 on the A is E. And then that becomes a 1. And then we play the E major scale. Oh, how many sharps and flats would be 4 now? So using our circle of fifths, if needed, we look and see that. Use this one. We look and see that that we have indeed 4 sharps for E. Sorry, by my pinky here, 4 sharps. All right. So, and then when we do 5 steps from E, we go to B. Right. And then we can play 1 octave, and that will have 5 sharps. Okay, so we'll do that with let's see, 5 sharps. We'll do it with the A sharp. Okay, and then go up 5 steps from there. It's F sharp. Okay, so F sharp will have 6 sharps, including an A sharp and an E sharp would be the last 2 sharps. So total would be F sharp, C sharp, G sharp, D sharp, A sharp, and E sharp for the F sharp major scale. Alright, and then going up 5 steps from there, it gets to C sharp. Alright, and then playing that major scale, we know we got 7 sharps, last sharp being B sharp. Now, when you get to that point, by the way, this is actually kind of important. I don't think it's necessary to be going through this in your head when you're like actually practicing and you're going down the line. C's easy, no sharps. Then you get to G1, right? No problem. D, 2, A, 3, E4. It's getting harder and then harder. And then by the time you're getting to like F sharp, if you find yourself exhausted, not good. Okay. It's okay to get exhausted from practicing if you're practicing the right thing, but I think you don't need to necessarily think too much, and maybe try relying on the ear more, because when you're learning the saxophone or relearning like me because of this neurological illness that I'm managing right now, set me back a bit, with my muscular use, and some things are permanent, but I am still able to play and work around whatever is disabling, with my body. So using your ear is important. If you find yourself trying to get through this chart and you're getting a little overwhelmed by what seems to be like math or remembering things, try to use your ear more, okay? So that when you're getting to a scale and you make flubs, like, for example, I'll do one on purpose. We're going from, C sharp. I'm going to C sharp, and you're like, oh, okay, first note, C sharp. No, it's not. Doesn't sound right? Oh, that note sounds right. And then I know the half step is the last thing, right? In the formula. All right. So slowly, the bits and pieces that you're memorizing will kind of click in through repetition of playing. So I think the playing part is more important than the thinking part. So if you find yourself fumbling for the notes, good job. Keep fumbling for the notes then, if it's less of a stress on your brain. Okay, so it's a bit physical here, what you're doing, and of course mental, but try not to put too much strain on the mental part, especially if you're relearning some basic things. And it's good to be challenged, but unnecessarily being challenged is what I want to have you avoid, okay? So you keep doing that, and you wind up going through the whole circle of fifths, right? And you get to, and I'll demonstrate that for you, where you're just counting the fives and playing all 12 major scales in that order. So what I'm doing in this last exercise in more detail is I'm starting with the F major and going all the way up to the high F, the F major scale. And then on the way down, instead of playing the same F major scale, I go down a half step chromatically to the E flat, right? I'm sorry, the E major. Okay, strike that. The E major is E natural. E natural is half step away from F going down, right? We need to know that, and that becomes a new one. All right, so then it becomes an E major scale going down. So going down, that would be D sharp, C sharp, B, A, G sharp, F sharp, E. All right, E natural. And then going back up, we are going to go down a half step again to E flat. The E flat becomes your new 1. And then this is on the saxophone, alto. And then we're going up the scale now, except the new 1 is the E flat. And then once you get to the octave, all the way to the high E flat, you're going down a half step again, or a chromatic step, to a D. And then you're going down D, C sharp, B, A, G, F sharp, E, and then D. And then to turn around to go back up, you're going to go down a half step again to D flat, or C sharp, but it's red D flat here. So we're going in that direction. But it's really D flat or C sharp. And you're going to go up that scale to the high D flat, and go down a half step again to C, C major, easy, nothing, right? No flats or sharps. You go down to the C, 1 octave down. And then when you swing around to go back up, you're still gonna go down from that C to half step to a B. That becomes your new 1. You keep doing this until you get back to your well, it's not a circle, I'm sorry. You keep on doing this until you get to the very, very last key that covers the lowest note on your saxophone, which is B flat, okay? And here's a demonstration of that. Okay, so that would be all 12 keys, major scales, I believe 2 octaves for the most part. So that's not bad. And I'm relying on my memory. I am not even thinking about the numbers of sharps or flats. All I'm doing is recalling what the fingers feel like on the buttons. I'm sorry, that's a neurological answer. Because when you practice enough, it becomes a little more reflex-like. So, of course, that's the reason why we all sort of had to go to school, I guess, is to repeat certain exercises like the math stuff. I mean, so yeah. But luckily here, we're dealing with reasonable numbers here, 1 through 5, or really 1 through 7, because it's the major scales we're talking about, okay? And that's the only formula you'll have to remember is the whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step formula for the major scale. So, of course, that exercise I just did, you can also do ascending. So I believe it's critical for the saxophonist to understand the circle of fifths in that manner with the example I provided. Not the exact example, but half of it for sure, which is the circle of fifths, a must. And then piecing it together, all the 12 major scales, by the second example I provided, which is, for me, it's my favorite example, because if you could play all the major scales that way, rather than the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that, that's the way to learn. But the second part, the exercise of really playing all the 12 major scales that way, with that kind of chromatic sequencing on the saxophone, really is very fruitful. It yields results from playing it, knowing it, getting your fingers used to it, and yeah, make mistakes so that you can correct them. And that's the mode that I'm in right now, in my state of recovery, in managing my illness and working around things that really don't work so well for me when I play saxophone. So I hope you find this video helpful in understanding all this basic material. It shouldn't be so hard, and it should be stuff that you should play without any kind of a burden. So please practice. Let me know how I'm doing. If you like this video and find it helpful, please hit the like button. And if you haven't subscribed, kindly do so. And I will see you with the next one.